Hi, guys. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Double Shot of Steelers presented by FanDuel. It's a day that a lot of us knew was coming and knew for a while, and it doesn't lessen the hit like at all. We lost Dale Lolley today. He was our coworker here at DK Pittsburgh Sports for 5 years. He was a mentor, a friend, a strong figure in our company at a time when we needed one of those. He was the sturdy presence. He was the adult in the room when the rest of us were children. And Dale was 56 years old. That's it. And he fought cancer. And when I say fight, I mean, he fought. He really, really fought. Sometimes that just gets spoken as if it's like a cliche or whatever. He gave it everything that he had. Most tragically left behind his wife, Amy, 3 kids, and an assortment of people who've loved him in all walks of life, including at his workplace, because there's nothing exempting his family that he loved more than working and what his work was. And what his work was covering the Pittsburgh Steelers, immersing himself in covering the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a grinder. He was there every day, every morning, everything. And watching how he carried himself, seeing how he conducted his business, seeing how professional he was, seeing how rewarding it was for him on a personal level when he was asked to represent not just DK Pittsburgh Sports, but also the local contingent of people who cover the Steelers as the Hall of Fame speaker a few years ago for the session that got Troy Polamalu inducted. And then knowing that, I remember him calling me after this happened, but when it was all done, that Troy does some group interview, and then Troy walks up to Dale and says, "What can I do for you?" and gives Dale all of the good stuff, all of the good quotes. He was so proud. He made that picture. He made that picture of him interviewing Troy that a colleague of his who was mindful of this from another city in the room had the presence of thought to snap for him and gave it to him as a gift. There's we're going to talk about Dale today, Chris and I. Chris became very close with him. And before I make Chris turn to mush, before he gets on here, I'm going to say this. I've never said this out loud, not even to Chris, but when Dale took the job of his dreams, the job of his lifetime, and that was when the Steelers came calling, the Steelers themselves, which is the only way he would have ever left us. And he felt so, whatever, guilty or whatever the words were for it at the time. He saw it as part of his post everything responsibility to make sure that he built up Chris to be that guy for us. And some of you have already remarked today that you see similarities between the two of them. Believe me, so do we. So do I. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Chris, because I can see on the little box down there, I'm already hitting him. Hey, guys, if you're planning to see a Steelers game, use the Game Time app to get your tickets. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone if you set it into your app alerts. The app is easy to use. No surprise fees at checkout. You can see your seat view before buying, and you're getting legit tickets delivered on time. If you're not much of a planner, you can get last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app and enter the code DK Steelers into your app profile to get $20 off your first purchase. Chris is the guy that you want. That was what he said at the time. Chris is the guy you want. And I wasn't even 100% sure what exactly that meant. I still had a lot to learn about Chris. And we've done that. We've all done that. And Chris, I can't imagine being at the facility today, and he hasn't been around for a while, but today had to be different.
It was. I don't know how I'm going to get through today, honestly.
I'll talk when you can.
Yeah.
To understand what ended up happening here, and Chris wrote about this on our site today. What ended up happening was that Dale didn't just say, "Hey, here, kid, you take this." What he did was he made sure that he could do it, and that he could do it in a Dale way. I know some of you guys will laugh at us and how seriously we take ourselves and reporters and journalism and everything. There actually is a lot more to it than what it might appear. And not everybody's cut out for it. But when you watch somebody carry themselves as professionally as he did in every single setting, the calm, the fairness, the level-headedness, and at the same time, the thoughtfulness. And this is one of the things that, if you guys remember when Dale and I would do shows like this together, we wouldn't agree on everything, just like Chris and I don't agree on everything. But I found that to be so valuable, not just for us, but for you guys, whether it was in video form, whether it was in written form, whatever it is, because you got to hear different viewpoints and you got to value different viewpoints. And when you're listening to it from Dale, you're getting it from a guy who's just lived in every way, shape, and form the Pittsburgh Steelers, everything about them. And being there constantly, he wouldn't take days off when I'd order him to. Okay, I'm convinced he's still working right now. If you follow Dale on social media, you'd know that he wrote a piece about the Steelers game in New Jersey, the opener. He sat there on his, literal bed there, putting it out, just in his standard format, 10 thoughts. And they were always indispensable because of the amount of work that went into them.
Yeah, he the one thing that I learned from Dale really, really early, because he took me under his wing right away. I mean, this is before even anything possibly started happening with him going to the Steelers. And I mean, a lot of it was leading by example. He didn't have to talk to me about a number of things. He didn't have to tell me things. He just, he pretty much would show me just by doing it. And, not that I was completely, brand new at reporting or anything like that, but it's different to watch somebody do what he's been doing for a long time. And when he's been doing it for that long, you pay attention to it. And Dale, the thing that stood out to me about Dale from the moment that I first saw him working to now was just how fervent he was in his work, his passion for his work. To pretty much have to be told, like, while he's going through this, like, don't worry about work. Like, just take care of yourself. Like that's just the kind of person he was. He was just driven. And that's a hell of a person to learn from, by setting such a great example. And I mean, the way that he took me under his wing, the way that he mentored me, like I said, he didn't do it from a way of talking down to me or anything like that. He did it in such a way that we just became friends because of it. And even after he had moved on and went to the Steelers, he still continued to mentor, to talk. And whether that was here covering the team during practices or games, or when we were in Mobile or Indianapolis at the Senior Bowl or the Combine, it didn't matter. He was we were chit-chatting, we were talking, we were always talking, and this just sucks. It sucks in every way possible.
There's a line that you draw as a journalist between, being someone who's followed the team or is close to the team, knows the players, know the coaches and everything else, and then being able to watch it and to cover it objectively. And I feel like he walked that line about as elegantly as anyone I've ever worked with. And he, at the same time, I'm being really careful here with my word choice. At the same time, he cared. I can't believe we're talking about him in the past tense. He cared about the franchise. He cared about the Rooney family. He cared about the people that are in it. He cared about the players who come before him. There was a legitimate respect there, but it was a mutual respect. And that's how I remember his reaction to the Troy Polamalu story and other things that he got. He was going for the story every day. He understood what the job was, or what the essence of the job was. But your turn.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was. I mean, but I think that goes to show, and like football kind of challenges you in ways like, when we've talked about that Hall of Fame voting process, journalists, whoever's, that guy in the room, as Dale was whenever Troy got eventually got the votes that he needed. Dale was the guy. He had to make a pitch.
Yes,
to the other
that's
voters.
How that works. Yep.
Yeah, and so at that point, you are really, really riding that line between bias and unbiased, because you are literally making a pitch for somebody to be in the Hall of Fame. Now you go about that in the best way you possibly can in terms of objectively covering the player, which Dale had obviously throughout all of Troy's career, and he did that in such a way that obviously and Troy's career speaks for itself, but obviously Dale undertook that and took that with the utmost respect and care and did everything he possibly could. I know how much that meant to me, even though I wasn't with the company at the time. He talked about it plenty of times afterward, and it's great to know that he had that on his resume. There are certain things you like to put on your resume. That's a pretty cool one to do, is to be the guy who helped make the pitch to get a player like that inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's such a beloved Steeler, not just of all time, but especially this current century that the franchise is in. But also Dale, just he was. I think if he cared about something, he cared about it to the nth degree. I saw how much he cared about baseball. I saw how much he cared. Rochelle brings it up here, Tony Baseball in Washington. Right here. That's what he cared about. He was a lot of the times when those conversations were happening on the road, whenever we're, sharing, just sharing conversation over a beer in a random bar in Indianapolis or whatever. A lot of the time, it's not even talking about football. It's talking about baseball. He was a big baseball guy too.
All the time.
He loved baseball.
Baseball all the time. You want to hear a good story? This one will make you smile. I sent him. I was telling the boss here about this one. I sent him to Washington to cover Pirates versus Nationals. I just ran out of people. I had to send somebody. And I knew he knew baseball and loved baseball. I just didn't want to do it because he's Mr. Steelers. He is whatever. He was not happy with me. And you know what Dale was like when he wasn't happy with you. He didn't hide it real well. And I said, well, hey, listen, if it's if it's something that you feel uncomfortable with, writing, knowledge about baseball or whatever. And he goes, it's not that. It's not that. He goes there. Chris, you know where this story is going. He writes 3 outrageously knowledgeable, intensive baseball stories. He went up to Pirates players he didn't even know and interviewed them and got great stuff from them because he was able to ask the right questions. And he prepared himself for this series. He was reading all the media notes from both the Pirates and the Nationals and produced 3 terrific things. And he comes back and says, "There, never again."
That's like the worst ballpark, by the way, to send somebody to go cover a baseball game.
I left that part out. Yeah, it really is. I'll say on a personal level, and I alluded to this in the opening. We're a startup company, DK Pittsburgh Sports. We're 11 years old. Anybody who's ever had a startup company will tell you it's no picnic, especially from the staffing standpoint, especially from the HR standpoint and everything else here. And we didn't know what the hell we were doing. She had no experience in running a company. I had no experience in anything other than reporting. And we had the ups and downs, a lot of downs early on. We had a lot of ups too because the Penguins were winning championships, so the business was exploding. But we didn't know what to do with anything or anybody. And we needed a football writer. And
I remember the meeting where
she remembers the meeting. She's jumping in. Starbucks up in Green Tree.
Yep.
And outside. And we went up to there to meet him.
And he wanted to do it in person.
And he insisted on meeting in person, old school. No phone, no nothing. He wanted to sit with us, and he knew about the Starbucks thing. So we sit there, and he says to the two of us, and I'm going to be passing the baton here in a hurry. But he says to the two of us, "I am the most loyal person." No, I got her now. "I am the most loyal person you will ever meet, you will ever have. Once you hire me, you have got your guy."
Yeah, once I'm in, I'm in.
Once I'm in, I'm in. Damn it, he was in.
Yeah.
He was in. He had our backs at every turn. And I can't tell you what that meant to us. Just it as a business, never mind as people. We needed that. We needed that at the time. You came in, Chris, at a time that he had already picked us up. He had set the standard for what the Steelers beat should be and everything that we do. And, but he probably came into your life at a pretty nice time too.
Yeah. I mean, anytime that, you're going through something like, making a huge move like I did to take this job, it comes with its own challenges. It comes with its own challenges to I have a wife, I have 2 young kids, and we've gone through the experiences of having to face those challenges head on. And Dale would even, every now and then, "Hey, how's the family doing? How's the family doing?" And even when I first took the job, my family wasn't with me. And, he knew that wasn't easy, and he would still, "Hey, how's the family doing? How's the wife doing? How are the kids doing?" And sometimes that just means so much, even it's just something little. He was very loyal, and I could tell that from very, very early on about Dale, that he was a very loyal person. He didn't have to say it. I could tell, and I've even had a couple people tell me today that said, "Hey, Dale really liked you," and I'm like, I almost don't even want to hear it.
Yeah, because he didn't respect everybody in the business. You had to be up to a certain bar, and that was one of the things that hit me at the time that he was pushing for you. It was like, hang on a second, he doesn't think anybody's good. He liked this guy, Quentin Chandler. And a lot of you are writing in about him, and that's appreciated. Dale always responded to my comments, whether good or bad. He says, "I have tears in my eyes right now." One of my favorite things about Dale was that he had this amazing relationship. This was on our app between our community and himself, where they'd go at him and whatever, but he couldn't wait to open that app and go right back at them. And that's caring. That's what that is. That's not manufactured anything. You're either into it or you're not. We have
they didn't agree with him, but always respected
They
him.
always respected him. So what she's saying is right here. A couple of you are asking how Matt Williamson is doing. I can tell you that Matt was for me and Chris, he was our liaison because we didn't all want to be bugging him. We didn't all want to be bugging his wife. And Matt was the one who was staying the closest because the two of them are close. Matt's made of tough stuff. I'm sure you're going to hear from Matt sooner rather than later. I want to share a couple of things here with you guys in case you're wondering whatever. And I can understand that. If you're a Steelers fan, and you might not, or you're really far from town to understand who this was and why it hits so hard. Dale was a lifelong writer, reporter, old school reporter. And I'm not saying that because he was old. He's 2 years younger than me, 56. And he did at the Washington Observer reporter, he would go and cover the Steelers just because he wanted to cover the Steelers. There were times when they were like, hey, man, we need you here doing high schools. We need you here doing the desk work and stuff. And he would still go on his own time. Not to be a fan, not to wave, whatever, just because that's where he felt he belonged. He was a reporter covering the Steelers beat writer. And it wasn't until he got with us that he was traveling and doing all the other stuff that you would normally do as a beat writer. We gave him that opportunity, and we're grateful that he took it. And then to advance to the next level, the work that he did on Steelers Nation Radio with Matt, their drive show, the work that he did in print with Teresa Varley, Missy Matthews, Bob Labriola, who wrote just a beautiful piece today. Labs. I mean, I said it on social media. I'm saying it here. That was just, I didn't make it through it the first time.
Yeah.
It was really, really something.
Yeah.
Go and read it. It's on there. It's on Steelers.com now. The Steelers handled the situation elegantly, beautifully. They took care of him throughout. They had to chase him off the campus at one point when he was getting really sick, and he still wouldn't leave because he just wanted to keep doing his work. I don't remember where I was headed with this, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, I know. I mean, that's just, again, that's who Dale was, and that's why and I have to admit, like, whenever I was writing what is on our site today, that's the hardest thing. It's not even that long. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to write, because I'm writing about somebody who
you can't believe you're doing it. Yeah. You can't believe you're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard enough to write about like somebody like Wolf, but I didn't spend as much time with Wolf as I did with Dale. Dale and I had a lot of really great, like, personal conversations, and
Well, here's where I can share. I see some of you are already connecting Tunch, Wolf, and Dale, and as awful as that sounds in the moment, that's actually the way it's being received. I can tell you this in the Steelers world. I had a talk. This was out in Latrobe with Bert Lout and the Steelers. Talk about a great person, their director of communications, and talk about the Steelers' way of doing things. I know they're not all that loved right now. I get it, but there is a family approach to what they do.
Oh, they take care of their own, 100%.
And they respect the people who do this job for the most part, and is sitting in this parking lot with Bert. This was back in training camp. That's how long everybody's known about this. And we were just going over the losses that we've taken. And in such short order, I mean, Tunch with ALS. Wolf was instantly diagnosed with stage 4. He had 1 month to go as soon as he found out. Yeah. And Dale, he had about a year of this, and he fought and fought. At one point thought he was out, which made it hurt that much more when it came roaring back. And for that to happen in such a tight space, and in a group that is, and I use the term tight here differently, tight emotionally, the way the Steelers family is, that's just boom, boom, boom. And for those of us who are on this side of the fence, and there is a fence, make no mistake, when it comes to the media, for those of us on this side, there's been some real hard reality that's hit.
Well, and the one thing that you can know about and how you really know how respected Dale was is not just amongst his peers, but the players' reaction. Seeing guys like Brett Kiesel and Le'Veon Bell come out on social media and say even if it's just one really short good thing about Dale. That's how you know. That's how
we'll
you know.
Hear from. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like that's one thing that I like. For me, like the way I go about report, I always try to respect the player's space. I always try to respect a player, and you could tell how much the players can respect that back if the reporter does it for them. And I saw that from Dale. I tried to do that like Dale did, and you can see the reaction from the players today. Like I said, with players such as Brett Kiesel, Le'Veon Bell coming out and saying something about Dale passing, and that speaks to who he was and how he went about his work and on a whole other level. Because it's one thing for other reporters to say he was a great guy, but it's a whole other thing for players to say that about a reporter as well.
And you're going to hear a lot more of that in the days to come. You're going to hear from Troy. You're going to hear from Jerome. You're going to hear from guys that he covered them and professionally and in his very Dale way. We all have different approaches to the job. Mine, just as a contrast, is I'm more of the joke around, get to know you in a fun way, and that sort of thing here. Dale was just a guy that you could count on every day. He wasn't going to waste your time. He wasn't. If you had a rotten game, he was going to ask you about your rotten game. But you knew he didn't do it in some spiteful way. You knew he was just doing it because that was the job. And the incredible part is, Chris, and I honestly, I wondered about this, and he and I talked about this at length whenever he took the job with the Steelers. You're now working for the team, and yet he was a lifelong independent media reporter, and now the team is signing your paychecks. And his response to that was, they know who they hired. And I loved that. Think about that for a second. I loved that because he was saying, listen, I'm going to write whatever it is that I write. I'm doing 10 thoughts after the game. Not all of those thoughts are going to be rosy. I'm not looking for positive spin here. And sure enough, his content remained amazingly consistent and compelling. And you better believe I was reading all of it after he left. Because I would send him typos and stuff, but that's me, so that he could fix those things up. We're gonna probably end today. We're not gonna. I had an idea walking here today that we were gonna do let's just talk about Steelers versus Patriots. We're not pulling this off today. We will tomorrow though.
The one thing I will say about today, and I was having to tell myself this whenever I was turning the mush at the beginning of the show, like Dale, if Dale were right here with us,
he'd hate this show.
He would hate this show.
Hate this show.
He would be telling us, "Oh, suck it up."
He'd walk back there and pull the plug right out of the wall over there.
Yeah, he'd be chastising us pretty bad, and he'd just be like, "Just talk about football. That's what your job is. Just talk about." That's what he would be saying. That's what he. And so I had to tell myself, I'm like, I literally told myself in my head, like, you better stop. If anything, I felt like I would be letting Dale down if I sat here and just completely broke apart. I got the drive home for that.
Yeah. Guys, we appreciate you being with us. And I'm going to offer apologies here to those of you who would tune in and think, yeah, here comes some football talk. We had some people asking football questions earlier. Give us one day. I wasn't sure we were going to do the show at all. Give us one day. We will be back, and we will be in football form from Thursday through Sunday. I might, and Chris might, on occasion. We're gonna lapse. We're gonna mention something. I'm gonna tell you a story about something that Dale and I experienced in Foxborough when we get there. where he and I traveled together everywhere for years. We did everything together. It was like a brother. And
you know what's really funny though, or just ironic, is that the picture we have of him on our site that you sent me this morning, is from Foxborough.
Is it really?
Yeah, it just happens to. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
I didn't even realize that when I sent it to you. We've been digging through photos and all kinds of stuff today. Guys, again, we appreciate you here. The boss has something that she wants you to pay attention to. She's asking that we end the show with silence, in honor and respect and love of our very much, and she's included in this. She's not doing real well over there right now. Our very much mutual friend and colleague and Dale Lolley.